Welcome back to Edgework here on the Hammer Betting Network, a daily live NHL show Monday through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Today is Thursday, March 23rd. We got 12 games on the schedule again here tonight, flipping back from the 2 that we had yesterday. So we got a bunch of best bets that we'll run through here today. If you have any questions about the games that we talk about, if you have questions about the games that we don't talk about, please make sure to send those into the chat there so we can get to them at the end of the show as well. You'll notice there is a comment in the chat pinned to the top of the chat right now. If you're looking to sign up at new sportsbooks throughout the course of this show, you hear something talked about, you hear a sportsbook mentioned that you don't have yet, and you want to go sign up for it, make sure to do so while supporting the Edgework show here. If you click on that link that's pinned to the top of the chat or is in the description of this video, and if you're listening back after it's on podcast, it will be in the description there. You click on that link, you head over to the betstamp.app/edgework link, you will be able to sign up at a bunch of new sports books and help us out in the process. So please make sure to do that if that is something you're interested in. If you're looking to add new sports books, especially as line shopping is so important to success in our sports betting here that we're trying to continue to win at, as we've had a pretty good season so far this year on Edgework. Looking at it right now, 29.8 units. We are up 4% ROI with 312, 345, and 9 records so far on the season. There just goes to show line shop, get the best price, get the best of the number, and you can still come out on top even if you are a little bit down on the record that you have there. So 12 games here tonight. Rob Pizzola joining us here today. First time on the Thursday show, the debut. Rob, how's it feel to be on Thursday and not Friday this week?
It's amazing. There's actually games on Thursdays. Fridays, we have like 2 or 3 games, and I'm, scavenging through every single player prop possible to see where I could find a bet. This is much better when you have the entire board available to you. It's pretty chaotic, even though we start the stream now and we get all these news updates as well as things are coming in. I like that. I like being able to react on the fly to this type of stuff. Jared Spurgeon on the ice for practice today for the Wild, which I expected. But yeah, pretty cool Thursdays.
Yeah. Normally the NHL scheduling is all over the place, but at least Thursdays you can kind of count on it being a stacked slate every week. No, I love it. It's great. So I'm pumped to get into these games.
Yeah, and let's do so. So we'll start here with the first game of the night, and as people who've been here before know, but for those who are new, make sure to subscribe first and foremost to the Edgework HQ YouTube channel. Like the stream as well to help us out. But we will go through the games in chronological order of the games that we have bets in, and then the ones that we don't, we'll go through at the end. If anyone has questions or anything that you guys want covered, we can look at those. So we'll start here with the Minnesota-Philadelphia Flyers game tonight. We're looking at the Flyers as a plus money price at home taking on the Wilds. And the Wilds coming into this one, they've been playing pretty well recently. Looking at them in terms of their record, in terms of the points that they've been able to generate. They're on a 2-game win streak, but they're 7-1-2 in their last 10. Now this Flyers team, on the other hand, has essentially said, yep, wave the white flag. We're going to rebuild, retool. We'll get ready for next year, give some of these guys an opportunity to get the playing time in. But Rob, coming into this one, at home as a plus money price, you'd be looking at Philadelphia here and looking to back them tonight?
Yes, I would. So you mentioned 7-1-2 in the last 10 for the Wild. It's actually 7-0-2 in their last 9 because the regulation loss was 10 games ago. So they've been playing really well here, and we're starting to see them priced that way. It's funny because we did this show for months, and we're like, The Wild are probably pretty undervalued because their shooting percentage is just like incredibly low. Marc-Andre Fleury wasn't playing well. They'd switched over to Gustafsson and net. And now I think it's basically time to reverse on Minnesota, because you look at, since the start of the month, they're shooting 10% at 5v5. They do not have the shooting talent to continuously shoot 10% at even strength. They have a 96.12 save percentage at 5v5 since the start of the month. And I do like their goaltending, but that's also unsustainable. So I'm looking to reverse course a bit here. And a lot of people will be like, oh, the Flyers, they stink. They're actually playing a lot better. I mean, they beat Florida 6-3. Prior to that, they had an overtime loss to Carolina. Prior to that, they beat Buffalo. Since the beginning of March, they have an expected goal share of 51% at even strength. Their actual goal share is 57% in that time. And their defense has improved big time. Their defensive game, they're allowing just 2.33 expected goals per game at 5v5, which is the 5th best number in the league in all of March. And by the way, the teams that they've played in March, the Rangers, the Lightning, the Hurricanes twice, the Penguins, the Knights, the Sabres, the Panthers. It's not like they've played these, the Blue Jackets and the Coyotes and the Ducks and the Blackhawks. They've actually played good teams. So I just think this is mispriced. I would have priced this closer to the, honestly, like minus 120 range for Minnesota. So we start today, 6:30. Hold your breath, Flyers. I think that's a good underdog play.
Yeah, and I can't. I can't add too much more than what Rob said there. I absolutely agree with you. When I woke up or last night and saw Minnesota minus 165, minus 170. I immediately thought, this is probably the time to start to sell high on the Wild here. Anytime you're getting a price like this on the road, it doesn't matter who you're playing against. I think you have to try and look to sell a team like this, especially after the run that they've been on. And yeah, like you said, on the flip side, the Flyers have been playing well the last 3 games. That's exactly what I was going to talk about. They've actually shown a little fight the last few games. And, with a low event game, with Carter Hart in net, with how the Wild want to play this very, very low scoring game, they could absolutely be right in it at the end with a 1-1, 1-1 in the third period. So I agree completely. I think this line is a little bit too long on the Wild, and I lean the same way.
There you go. So again, if you want to track the picks that are given out on the show, we'll recap them at the very end. We'll go through every pick that's given out throughout the duration of the show, pull them up on screen so everyone can see how much we bet on them in terms of full unit, quarter unit, half unit, whatever it is that we're taking on that bet, as well as what books we've played them at and what price we've got them at. So we will recap them all at the end. But if you are looking to go back and see the record throughout the course of the season, how we've done so far, you can find us in the BetStamp app, which you can find on iOS and Android, and you can find us in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. So these plays will be locked on there until the games, but if you want to look at how we've done through the course of the season, the transparency and the records that we've had, you can find it there. So make sure to check that out at some point here today. Rob, Josh in the chat here saying, couldn't disagree more with Rob here. Never hold your breath. You want to plug your nose.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, these are definitely the types of plays where, especially late in the year, team that's not in the playoff mix against a team that's really playing for something, nobody really wants to back these, and I get it, but it's all price dependent, right? I think you just make what your price on the game should be and then decide whether or not you're going to fire, because even look at the Coyotes last night, right? Take Edmonton to overtime. You could get plus 2.5 on Arizona last night at minus 110. When does that happen in the NHL? It's because, they have nothing to play for. The Oilers do. And we tend to get some of these numbers later on in the year.
Yeah. It's a, I know that was one of the ones I was giving out yesterday as a best bet on the show, was the plus 2.5. So that was a good win for us there. But moving on to the next game here tonight, we got the Tampa Bay Lightning heading on the road to take on the Ottawa Senators. We are seeing Tampa Bay right now currently sitting as a favorite in this game, minus 141, best price available. Tampa in this one, they're third in the Atlantic right now, coming into this one on a 2-game losing streak, 5-4-1 in their last 10. If you caught yesterday's show, we talked about some of the teams right now who are supposed to be Stanley Cup contenders who have been playing below their standards and towards the bottom of the NHL in terms of expected goal shares. Tampa Bay Lightning were one of the teams that were identified as one of those teams to look out for, who are on the lower end of things there. And going into this one, going to face Ottawa. Ottawa, regardless of their position in the standings, is going to be one of those pesky, hungry teams to try to continue to win and get points, get experience under their belts. But even as it stands right now, it would take a little bit of a miracle to push them into the playoffs. That's for sure. They are 7 points out. Their play as of late, 3-6-1, has kind of pushed them back out of that spot. But in this one here, Rob and Russ, Russ, you're looking at an over spot in this game tonight between these two teams rather than maybe a side?
Yeah, I think so. This is a fairly simple, straightforward handicap for me. I think with Vasilevsky and Sogard in, I've got this close to right above 7. And then if we do end up getting Brian Elliott confirmed in goal, this will push my total up to 7.5. So I'll absolutely take that over 6.5 minus 120. As far as breaking this game down, kind of going under the hood here a little bit. Both of these teams have been struggling on defense lately. The Lightning have really, really fell off on defense. We've talked about this in previous shows. Is it time to buy low on the Lightning? Is it time to panic and jump ship? They kind of do this type of thing every year. I remember the one year they lost like 7 of 8 games going into the playoffs and ended up winning the cup. So, for me, I'm still not panicking on the Lightning yet. As far as like a side play, I think that the market's probably right on about 140, 150 for the Lightning. But I think this total's a little bit low. I think we should probably see a 6.5 minus 135 or even a juice 7 here. And the Senators' last couple games, they played a 2-1 game last game, and then the game before that was 2-1 against the Penguins. And I think that those 2 games are keeping this total down a little bit. And especially the way that Dylan Ferguson played his first game out, he just completely stood on his head. You've got Ottawa, who's 29th in expected goals allowed the last 10 games. They just can't stop any chances at all. And I think that this matchup is good to easily get to 3-3 or Tampa Bay 5-2 or something like that. So I've got the majority of the time I've got over 7 here. So that's the way I'm going to go. Over 6.5 minus 115, I think, is what we locked in. I think, that's playable up to 120 where it's at now.
Yeah, minus 119. Over 6.5, minus 119. We were able to grab there as best price available. So we did lock that in. Rob, I know you had some thoughts on the over here as well.
Yeah, I do. So, Daniel H in the chat says, Money Puck says Ferguson for Ottawa. There's no confirmation yet on who's going to be in net for Ottawa, but I agree with I agree with Russ in terms of, I know it's going to happen a million times.
No worries.
In terms of I don't think either is a good option for the Senators. The one thing that's very noticeable with Ottawa, and I've watched them play a lot lately, is I don't think that they're inept at defending as much as they're just willing to trade chances with other teams. They play a very wide open style of play relative to some other teams in the league. Especially noticeable when they play the Leafs on Saturday night, where it's just a wide open end-to-end game. And they have a lot of offensive firepower as well. So I guess I haven't played this, but I lean that way as well. If we get Vasilevsky, Sogard, I make it. My expected goals in the game is 6.71. If we get Elliott, Sogard, add basically a quarter to the total for me. It's around 7.1. So subjective lean to the over for me in this one as well.
I'm surprised the Fergler here doesn't bring that total down after the performance that we saw.
Fergler, is that what they're calling him now? God, I remember when Andrew Hammond came into the league. That was the most absurd. I don't think we'll ever see a run like that ever again. For a guy, because that was 20 plus games where he was just unreal, and now not even an NHL caliber goalie. And it's funny, the variance in hockey, right? That just goes to show, even in a 20 game sample, you don't really learn much about a player.
What a run that was. The Hamburglar. There's hamburgers on the ice every night. This guy was getting endorsement deals. You got Curtis Lazar skating around eating burgers. That was right after Lazar had just been the hero in the World Juniors and stuff. What a throwback there for the Ottawa Senators. But yeah, maybe the Fergler comes in and changes things up for them. Moving on to another game here tonight. Rob, I'm gonna let you take this one over. I think it's pretty straightforward in terms of what we might see between these two teams. We're seeing another huge price between Boston and Montreal tonight. Boston at home against the Habs, and this Bruins team has been incredible at home. And we saw them finally falter a little bit, if you want to call it that, when they had the loss to Chicago 6-3. it's kind of just corrected itself right back. I mean, you're looking at this team with 113 points right now. They are the runaway first place team in the NHL. Even next, Carolina with 100 points, 13 back with 12 games left. They are on a 4-game win streak coming into this one, 7-3 in their last 10. It's being corrected. Facing off against the Habs at home here tonight. You're going to stay away from sides and totals, but you're looking for a player prop in this game.
I am. This one is honestly just too good of a price to pass up for me. And it's one where you probably just don't even want to watch the game if you bet this, or just like check the box score in the morning, because, you know, these are the types of plays that I tend to gravitate to. But I like Nick Suzuki under 1.5 shots in this game, which can be found pretty much plus 120 consistently across the board right now. I would obviously urge you to get the best price possible. But Suzuki's really playing the role of distributor now. And if you look at since the trade deadline, amongst forwards that have played at least 150 minutes or more, he is bottom 6 in the league in individual shots for per 60 minutes. And now somebody might say, oh, you know, maybe he's shooting a little bit more and those shots aren't getting through. No, his individual Fenwick per 60 minutes is actually bottom 5. And he's going up against a very good defensive team. Bruins give up the 7th fewest shots in the entire league. And consider how good that is when you consider how often they're leading games as well, right? Like, this is a very, very strong Boston blue line altogether. I think this is a good price. I think even money is pretty much fair on the under 1.5. And if we just look at Nick Suzuki's shot totals over the course of the past month, like, it's a black hole, right? Essentially, you have some games where, you know, the Florida game where they lost 9-5. Well, they're trailing the entirety of the game. He's got to put pucks on net. He gets 4 shots there. But 8 of 11 games this month, he's had 1 shot or less. He's not a guy that's looking to put it on net very often. So I think it's a good price here on Suzuki. I like this as a player prop today.
All right, there you go. Plus 120 on the under 1.5 for Nick Suzuki shots on goal. And now this is going to be one, Rob, you know, here tonight, you're going to have like a generous scorekeeper just filling in or something in Boston. And
there are some rinks. There are some rinks where it's different than others. You know, you never know. It's a struggle. The struggle is real. Like, ask Todd Cordell, who's on the Tuesday show, right? He bets a ton of shots on goal props. Mm-hmm. He probably messages me at least 2 or 3 times a week with like some clip of like, can you believe this wasn't ruled a shot on goal? I mean, mm-hmm. it is so ridiculous sometimes, but the reality is it should balance out for you in the long run, right? Like, you get lucky on some, scorekeeper works in your favor on some, scorekeeper works against you on the others. Theoretically, you play enough of them, it balances out.
Yeah, like when we tracked Jack Hughes over 3.5 shots on goal, and he had 10 the other day. Like, all right, how many of these 10 were real shots on goal? I want to watch back and see. But yeah, it will balance out. So there you go, another bet. But moving on, we do have another one here. And Russ, you're looking to a battle in the Metro tonight here between the Carolina Hurricanes and the New York Rangers. And Rob, I know you have some interest in this one as well. But Russ, we'll start with you. What is it that's so enticing tonight about the Carolina Hurricanes at home against the Rangers? Why would you be looking to play them?
To start off, basically the price is the most enticing thing, I think. You know, I think this probably should be closer to minus 135, minus 140, and we're getting all the way down. I've got minus 128 at Pinnacle, minus 127 on the board. Maybe that just changed. Oh wow, yeah, that just changed completely. Just got bet into. So I would, that's basically right where I have it on market. That's just refreshed my screen and it jumped from minus 128. So I don't know. I think, you know, that's basically bet right into market. I think you could keep an eye on this game. If it dips down, I think minus 125 is a buy point for me. You know, on the other side of that, I do think if the total keeps dipping down, I think the over is a decent look. I've got, you know, over 6 here, significant amount of time. If you can get like that 5.5 over 5.5 minus 120-ish is probably a decent play. Just breaking down these teams a little bit more, Carolina has dipped a little bit recently, but you know, when you look at their expected goals, they're still top 3 in the league in both expected goals for and expected goals against. And I think they've kind of corrected their issues, and they do have Frederik Andersen confirmed in goal tonight. So I think that is a benefit for them. And then on the flip side, this Rangers team has kind of been an anomaly all year. They keep winning on the backs of bad play and very, very good goaltending. I think that Igor has dipped in the last 10 games. Igor has dipped a little bit. He's got closer to a 900 save percentage. And, the Rangers are 18th in expected goals for and 17th in expected goals against. So I think this is a little bit of a step up in class for the Rangers here. Like I said, I've got my true price here is minus 145-ish for the Hurricanes. So I was absolutely planning on locking in that minus 125, minus 128. It looks like, a lot of other people had that same idea, but I would keep an eye on it and see if there is any buyback. And then, like I said, I do think there's an angle on this total as well, but I'm not quite ready to lock it in at minus 130. If it does dip down minus 120, I think that's probably the angle I'll go. But no, I think this should be a great game, and curious to hear what Rob has to say on the puck line.
I'll go ahead and find us a bet on this game because I like Carolina minus 1.5 at plus 180 is the best price in market right now, which I would make a 4.9% edge. Wow. But I often am trying to find like shifts. I don't want to say necessarily in dynamic in the league, but more so when a team is just really, really overperforming for a long period of time and a team is underperforming for a period of time. And when you look at since the trade deadline, which, I mean, everything prior to the trade deadline is valuable in some cases, but a lot of these teams have switched things up a little bit. Svechnikov is now out for the Canes. Obviously, New York Rangers made some notable trades, including Patrick Kane. But since the trade deadline, the Rangers have a 50.7 expected goals percentage in all situations, 50.7, basically like right around even. Mm-hmm. And their actual goals are 63.5%. And the Rangers are a team that's going to constantly do this because they have better shooters than a lot of other teams in the league, and they have good goaltending altogether, including Yaroslav Halak as their backup. But this is a very wide range, and you typically won't see this discrepancy last for a long period of time. On the other side of things, Carolina's in the exact opposite boat, right? 51.6% actual goals, 57.1% expected goals. And I watched the game the other night. I bet Carolina against the Rangers the other night. I thought the Hurricanes played a very strong game on the road, fell behind early. It was a game that didn't have a ton of chances, but Carolina had a lot of offensive zone play in that game. They hemmed the Rangers in deep a lot. And I like what I saw from that, where I just think that this is, I think the perception is that these teams are closer than they are. And I don't buy it. I'm still not a big believer in the Rangers. I think they're a one and done in the playoffs, whether they play the Hurricanes or Devils in the first round. And I like this price quite a bit. So, you could put me on record for that, Zach. We can cut it up when they go to the Stanley Cup and I look like a complete idiot. But yeah, I just think the Hurricanes are that much better. And eventually water finds its level with both of these teams who are, I think, just on like the opposite ends of the luck spectrum right now.
Sure. Yep. Completely agree. Yeah.
That's going to be
get that in there before it keeps changing. I see that's literally even the puck line is dropping as we speak.
Yeah, so we tracked the puck line at plus 175 for those. As soon as we went to track it, it moved on us from 180, so it went down to 175. We grabbed that. I think even now it's still continuing to move, but there you go. So Money's on board with us as well. Saying we are all Hurricanes. And Daniel H saying don't meet as many people as low on NYR as I am too. Yes, and Alex Moretto was low on them yesterday as well. It was a team that he was actually had a little bit of a rant on.
Well, I mean, it's the Rangers are like, it's tough because they've gotten results for a year and a half, 2 years, right? And there's a lot of like, you play hockey for results at the end of the day. And maybe there's something about the team where they're constantly going to overachieve relative to their advanced metrics. I think the Rangers are that team, right? Like they have Shesterkin. He's not having the same year as he was last year, but that like they forget last year, like the Rangers playoff, the first series against the Penguins was one of the most lopsided series in recent, like if you swap Jarry and Shesterkin in that series, it's over in 4 games and the Rangers get outscored by 3 goals in every game. That's the, like, it was the overtimes in those that series, I've never seen anything like it, where one team is just like can't even touch the puck. And now we're kind of at the same point this year. So I think it's like there's something about this team where they're better than the advanced metrics give them credit for. But with that said, I think people put them on this pedestal, like right up here, and I don't think that they're there. So for me, it's like an in-between of like, I'm not the advanced metrics guy that's like, oh, the Rangers suck and this and that or whatever, but they're nowhere near as good as I think the results that they've brought out either. So I think it's like, yeah, there's the extremists on both sides, and they're just somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, we talk about this team all the time on the Thursday show, it seems like. And yeah, like that playoff series last year, they were, they had Igor Shesterkin and going against Louis Domingue at times, and it still went to overtime in the end of the series. But yeah, like we have talked about this multiple times, they're like the opposite of the Calgary Flames, who have these amazing underlying metrics and just can't win. And the Rangers have these mediocre advanced metrics, and they for some reason keep rattling off wins when they shouldn't. So yeah, it's like you said, I think that's a great way to put it. They're just not as good as people think, and probably not as bad as the analytics show.
Just want to remind everyone who's watching right now, if you haven't subscribed to the Edgework HQ YouTube channel, please make sure to do so now. You can hit that subscribe button, help support the show as well. There's about 1 in every 9 people watching this show right now who've hit that like button. That is way too few. If you guys are
unacceptable.
Watching, hit that. Unacceptable.
I'll call it out for what it is. It's unacceptable.
Hit that like button, help support the show. And last thing I'll say, if you guys are looking to add sports books to your repertoire, if you're looking at some of the books that we're pulling up here on screen and you're saying, oh, I don't have that one has the best price, and you want to sign up for it, please make sure to hit the link that is in the description of this video or pinned to the top of the chat right now. If you do so, you can head over to the betstamp.app/edgework show page, where you can sign up for all different sports books, see the recommendations, reviews on all of these. More than anything, it just helps out our show. So we would appreciate if you guys could do that. But yes, head over there if you're looking to add different sports books, want to sign up for a bunch. There they are. You can head over to this page that is pinned at the top of the chat, as well as in the description of this video if you are watching after, or if you are listening back on podcast platforms, it is there. We'll move forward, but I see Jordan Mosel here saying, I hammered the like. Thank you, Jordan. Appreciate it. Yes, hit that like button. And as we get into the next one here, Rob, I'm going to throw this question to you because you're going to have a similar idea to what's going on as I am right now. We're going to look at the Toronto Maple Leafs Florida Panthers game tonight, and I see Will S in the chat here saying, who we got in the NCAA Frozen Four action? Canisius plus 650 to free up Matthew Nyes to join the Leafs early. I saw yesterday people posting saying, I hope he wins for his confidence levels, but I hope he's playing against Carolina on Sunday. That was the tweets that I was seeing yesterday. And Russ, I know you're actually interested in the NCAA tournament as well here. This is something you monitor, you follow along with. Are we maybe looking at Matthew Nyes getting an early start on his NHL career? Is that out of the picture?
I don't know. I don't think so, man. I think he'll probably stick around. After my Omaha Mavericks lost the first round of the playoffs, I kind of haven't been paying attention too much. But no, I think that's a good question. That's a good question for you guys if he joins the Leafs and helps out a little bit.
They are 100% saving a spot for Nyes. Like it's going to happen, and it's probably Zach Aston Reese that comes out of the lineup when Nyes is ready to go and O'Reilly's back there. Like, I think it's pretty clear who the Leafs 12 forwards are going to be for the playoffs. The problem is the Leafs suck right now. It pains me. You see the Leaf gear, the hat, the sweater, the scarf back here. They are awful.
I couldn't wear it today, Rob. I couldn't wear it.
It's painful. They actually played a very, it sounds really weird to say this, coming off a 7-2 loss to the Islanders. They played a pretty solid game there, and it just kind of got away from them. Sorokin came up with some absurd saves in the early going. Rob Gustafson, maybe save of the year, but you cannot ignore that they're bottom 5 in expected goals at even strength since the trade deadline. They have all this lineup tinkering, and the Panthers are the complete opposite. The Panthers sit in 4th right now, expected goals since the deadline. The likelihood of Florida generating more quality chances in this game is high. And I personally just don't have much faith in Matt Murray, especially against a team that generates 37 shots per game. He's coming off arguably his best game of the season against Ottawa. He still gave up 4 goals, which he's now done in 6 straight games. I mean, it's getting challenging overall for Toronto right now. They're trying to find like that right mix, that right D combo. Sheldon Keefe is trying to make Brody and McCabe work, and it's just not working. They're getting killed at even strength.
Yeah,
it's a real struggle, right? The struggle is real, and until the Leafs turn that around, I don't see how they're not a fade. Especially Anthony Duclair in tonight for Florida. The one look for me in this game specifically, and I'll let Russ talk to this. It will never stop. I like Carter Verhaeghe over on shots on goal in this game, which is 3.5. The Leafs are giving up a ton lately. The pairings that they practiced with yesterday, I don't think are going to alleviate a lot of that. And like I mentioned, Florida just puts a ton of pucks on net. To get 3.5 and plus money at Pinnacle right now is a great price. But honestly, I even think these 3.5s at the more recreational books are still mispriced as well, when you just consider the volume that Verhaeghe has had over the course of the past month. Guy is just constantly putting pucks on net. I will say this. It's not all quality attempts, but he is one of those guys that just gets it to the net. And I feel like that's what's changed for Florida recently as well. There's way more of an emphasis on like, let's just get to the net and not make the fancy play type of situation. So I'm going over 3.5 shots on goal for Carter Verhaeghe in this game. But it's the Leafs the pain is real right now as a Leafs fan, man. Like it's best team of my lifetime, like roster wise, and it just feels like it's headed towards nothing again.
Yep.
And Russ, before I let you go here, Alex Felici in the chat, Leach saying Panthers -2.5 plus 400. Leafs already have a booth in Miami booked for tonight. They do not.
Yeah, I like that. Love that take.
You know what's actually funny though about this kind of stuff? Someone messaged me something on the weekend about, it was a little bit of like inside info about Columbus having a strip club booked in Vegas and whatever. And like, they ain't going to care about this matinee game the next day. And now it's Columbus against Vegas. One team is more talented than the other, but they look like they didn't care about that game the next day. And they also had some golf rounds booked as well. So yeah, I mean, the thing with this game though, and me and Zach know this, because at least the weather's getting a little bit better here, but there's a lot of snowbirds in Florida who will be at this game. It will feel like a pretty even mix of Leaf fans and Panthers fans at this game. So probably downgrade your home ice a little bit, but man, Florida is on a run and the Leafs look horrible at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel bad for you guys, honestly. Like you said, the roster of this team is just unbelievable. When I run my players base model, like normally just loves the Leafs every week, and we've been betting them pretty much all year. Like you said, that Islanders game, I felt great in. I felt like we were in a good spot. I thought that was a good get right spot. They went up 1-0, and then Ilya Sorokin happened, and just made that insane save. If he wouldn't have made that save, they would have gone up 2-0, and it would have been arguably a completely different game. Might have even, ended up getting the victory there, but instead they just came unraveled. It seems like this team got kind of worse at the trade deadline. Their defense, they shifted all their defensive players. They've just struggled in their since the deadline, and it's really, really strange. And then when I do plug it into my model, I mean, this defense, I'm getting up over 7 goals. They're 27th in expected goals against their last 10 games. So you can really see it in the numbers here. And this is another one that has been bet into me a little bit. We took -115 this morning. I would still play it at -120. My true number here is closer to -140 actually on the Panthers at home. Like I said, this is pretty straightforward, and you guys broke it down, as much as I could. But this Florida team is playing well right now. They have something to play for. They're 1 point back from the wild card. Whereas Toronto's pretty much locked in. They know exactly who they're going to play in the playoffs. They don't have a ton to play for as far as just getting, they're just getting stuff right, basically trying to figure out, how to get right before going into the playoffs. And I think the Panthers are there, arguably. They're playing like they were last season, and they're also getting a little bit of defense. The Panthers are first in expected goals for and sixth in expected goals against the last 10 games. They just been playing very, very well. And they play awesome at home. This is a team that's traditionally played very well at home. And I think this number is a little bit too short. I like the Panthers minus 120-ish, minus 125.
Every now and then there's a comment that pops up in the chat that gets me pretty good. This one here, if you've been following along with the Leafs, D saying, Leafs preparing to go 6 forward, 10 defense. The Bolts won't see it coming.
But see, my whole thing with this, obviously Ryan O'Reilly gets hurt. And he's your key deadline acquisition. And honestly, I think a big difference maker if you can plug in Ryan O'Reilly as a third line center. There's nobody in the league that's going to be able to match that. So that has an impact. But they technically have 9 capable NHL D men on the roster because Connor Timmins is, he played fine this year. But the 8 that they're going to shuffle and rotate in with, they just haven't found the combination that works with these 8. And Sheldon Keefe keeps trying and going back to the well with stuff that, in my opinion, is just not working. Like, we know Riley and Brody work together very well for years. Like, just keep Morgan Riley and TJ Brody together. Like, it's that. Mark Giordano can pair with Justin Hall or Timothy Liljegren. He's done that. But, Liljegren is not going to be in the lineup tonight, it looks like, in all likelihood. And, you can't have Justin Hall and Luke Shen in the lineup over Timothy Liljegren. I'm sorry, but both of those guys are significantly worse players. So they keep rotating guys in and out, and they never have their optimal 6 for any of these regular season games right now because they're trying to find pairings that work, and it's just not working. So, I hope they get it back on track, but until we see it, I think the Leafs are a pretty massive fade right now.
Yeah. I would have to agree with that, unfortunately. But we did track that one there for the Leafs-Panthers game, minus 125 on the Florida Panthers. Now, moving on to the next game, Russ, you're looking at the Seattle Kraken here tonight. And, Rob, you're actually going to disagree on this one. We got a head-to-head in this situation. And see, I'm interested to hear your opinion. So, Russ, I'll let you take this away first and foremost, why you like Seattle tonight, especially because I know Nashville has been a little bit of a controversial team throughout the course of this show this season, and particularly with our guy Alex Moretto and his thoughts on Nashville. But, Russ, your thoughts on why you think Seattle might be the right side tonight?
I've talked about this a lot on this show. There's some teams you can just lock in without goalie confirmation. There's some teams you have to wait on. Seattle's absolutely one of those teams that I wait on. There would be no play for me if we don't get Grubauer in net. And even then, I'm still sort of monitoring this line movement. Even at right at minus 130, I probably would not play it. I've got right at minus 137-ish. And there was a minus 120 and a minus 125 this morning. And actually, it looked like some movement came in on the Predators. And so this is a numbers play for me here. These are two teams that have been playing pretty well recently. This Predators team kind of you think is giving up, and then they go on a little bit of a run, and then they lose a couple in a row. Now they've lost 3 in a row, and they might go on another run. And also, this Predators team plays very well at home at in their downtown arena. So I think that's something you have to note here. Honestly, this might be one of those half unit or games that I just have on the side TV, but I've got minus 137-ish, and I lean towards the Kraken. But, until we get Grubauer confirmed, I probably won't be playing anything here. And, I'm okay not locking anything in for the show for sure, just because it's a later game and we probably won't have any confirmation until this evening.
All right, so I'll hold off. And Rob, why is it that fair enough. But why is it that you might be on the other side of this one?
Well, for starters, Seattle hasn't won a game in regulation in over 2 weeks now. So that's I'm just very concerned about the Kraken overall because they don't have any top-end talent and they don't have goaltending. And Grubauer's been the best of the options for them this year, but none of their 3 goalies, and I'm including Joey Daccord, who they called up, has a goal saved above average that's above 0 this season. And that's a reason why their penalty kill is amongst the league's worst. I think there's just too many flaws. And frankly, if I probably ran a sheet of teams that I've bet on this year, the Seattle would be near the bottom in terms of teams that I just rarely find value on altogether, because I can never, especially in these situations where you have to lay 30, 35 cents, whatever the price is with them. 30, 35 cents pretty much across the board. You can just never trust their goaltending. Like you know, with almost virtual certainty that you're not going to get a stellar goaltending performance on a nightly basis. You're not going to get, now it's Nashville. You probably don't need your goalie to steal the game here altogether. You have the Roman Josi injury as well. There's a lot that goes into it, but I made the fair price in this game, Seattle minus 113.5. So right around there. So pretty far off of Russ's, but I haven't played Nashville. I probably won't. I'm just not, I'm pretty reluctant to pull the trigger on the Kraken as favorites.
Okay, so we'll stay away for both sides there for the sake of the show.
Just really quickly, Zach. So this is actually, I thought this last year, right? Like Seattle's like the opposite of the New York Rangers. I can't even tell you how much money I lost on Seattle last year through a stretch where they had like 70 expected goals for percentage and they couldn't score. The difference is, like, Seattle's always going to underperform their XG because they have shitty goaltending and they don't have top-end finishers. And this is where we get carried away by the advanced metrics sometimes, because they're always going to underperform those. The Rangers are always going to overperform those. It's just the degree to which they will do that or not. But you get to this point in the year and you're kind of like, your weighting of your actual goals percentages should go up as the year goes on. You know what I'm saying? Like, as you get a larger sample, what you've actually done means more than what you're expected to do. Look at Calgary, right? Like, how many times did we lose money on Calgary this year? Just expecting them to flip a switch at some point. And it's like, no, they're not. Their goaltending has been horrible all year. And the same thing with their top-end finishing talent just hasn't been there, hasn't been able to put the puck in the net. So I'm huge into advanced metrics. I live and die by them, but everything, like, there's a reason for everything. Sometimes you got to dig under the covers and not just say, oh, this is their expected goals and bet blindly off that. I think if you just bet blindly off that, you're going to have a real problem in hockey.
All right. So a game that we don't have on our card here, but we'll get to, because I see Insight is a little bit antsy to talk about this one, has asked about it. The Pittsburgh-Dallas game here tonight, his best bet of the night. I'm interested to get your guys' thoughts on this. Pittsburgh Penguins at Dallas Stars. End of regulation result, Dallas Stars minus 108. Well, first and foremost, I would say to line shop and get around to get the best price that you could find on that one, because currently you can see if you go to a book like Pinnacle, you can get plus 105, but even at a book like Caesars, you can get minus 101 on Dallas. So would definitely suggest line shopping. And if you're going to do so, make sure to click the link that's in the top of the chat or the link in the description of this video so you can support us when you sign up for these new books. But Rob, Russ, any thoughts from you guys on this one here? Any side that you might lean towards, even if it isn't in regulation time here, if it's just the full game, whatever it is for Dallas Pittsburgh tonight?
For me, so the Pens have gotten steamed since we started the show. I think they were plus 145 or so. We can probably check that. And then it's been bet down to the 130 range. I agree with that move. Personally, I was much closer to betting the Pens than I was the Stars. A lot of this has to do with quality of competition. So, I mean, it's beating a dead horse at this point. Sorry, PETA, feeding a fed horse at this point. But the East versus West matchups this year, they've gone a certain way pretty consistently. The Eastern Conference is a lot better. And sure, Pittsburgh's fighting for a playoff spot. People think they're not that good. Whatever you think of them, that's fine. But they've done so against much, much, much more difficult competition this year than the Stars. I don't think that there's that big of a difference between these two teams. Obviously, rest situation, all that accounted for. I made the fair price Dallas minus 128 for today's game. So personally, I disagree. I'm not on it though. Insight, I hope you win your bet. I don't foresee myself having a bet on this game, but my fair is 128.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with Rob. This is one I had circled for Pitt. If the price was going to get a little higher, I might have taken a shot on Pitt. But if you've watched the Thursday show, you know that me and So Money have been very high on Pittsburgh this year, and they're actually starting to play like it. They've been playing a lot better recently. They've been getting a couple wins, and actually flirting with the playoff spot. So I think that'll be a fun team if we do get them in the playoffs. But yeah, I thought this line was way too high when I saw it this morning. Minus 156, minus 160. I thought that was way too high. I thought these teams were a lot closer. You add in the rest advantage for the Stars, a back-to-back for the Penguins, and then probably DeSmith in goal for the Pens. And, maybe you get closer to minus 135, minus 140. But it looks like the market's pretty much in agreement with us. I make this minus 120-ish for Dallas. I would have loved a plus 145 or plus 150 on the Pens here. But this will be a no play for me with the back-to-back for the Pens. But yeah, I disagree. I don't think I would take Dallas in regulation here. I think that Dallas is completely fine getting to overtime.
Yeah.
They are completely fine with 1 point or 1 point result. So that's not the way I would look. But if you do go that way, good luck.
I mean, a quarter of their games last year, I think, went to overtime, right? Like it was, and I think they had they were 5-16 post regulation last year, which is why they ended up with Calgary in the first round. But this is it's a valid point. There is small adjustment that needs to be played for playing in Colorado the day before. That is something. It's not meaningless. But the third game in 4 nights is already accounted for in the number, right? This is not information that nobody knows at this point. The rest situations to me are the one thing that people get caught up in of tough spot. This is a back-to-back 4 and 6. It's everybody knows that. Everyone who's making numbers knows that, right? But the Colorado adjustment, I think, is a fair one.
Yeah, I think that's a great note.
Yep.
All right, and final game that we are looking at here, the Vegas Golden Knights Calgary Flames game. I looked at this one when I pulled up the odds. I was kind of feeling like this might be a situation where we're in where we look back at it tomorrow morning and it feels like the LA Kings Calgary Flames game from the other night where we go, oh, how did that price end up in the Calgary game? You're looking at this one right now. Calgary favored at home minus 139 against the Vegas Golden Knights. Russ, am I way off on thinking about what we might wake up tomorrow and see and think, how did Vegas end up as plus 133 against Calgary?
No, I think you're pretty much spot on there, man. I absolutely hate this Flames team so much. If you get into if you're an advanced metrics guy, So Money, like Rob, like I am, this Flames team is just a complete anomaly. They play awesome. They have great metrics. They just, for some reason, they struggle in the third period. They can't win. Oh, there's a Rob with the hat switch. So my numbers have actually shown to play on the Flames the last few weeks. And I think we've got 1 win and 3 losses out of them. And I just can't understand it. And they have higher expected goals in these teams. And my numbers actually do favor them tonight, but I just can't see it. I think this is just a weird spot. This is probably going to be a no play for me. When you do look under the hood a little bit, Vegas has just been getting insane results and playing awful. 32nd in expected goals allowed their last 10 games. Vegas is just allowing all kinds of chances. So I thought that the Flames spot against the Kings was the ultimate get right spot. Super important game. Didn't really matter to the Kings. The Flames absolutely needed it, and they just completely choked. And so I'm a little bit, perturbed by the Flames right now. I don't know what to think. My numbers like them. We bet on them, gotten burned a few times. But, I think this will probably be a no play for me, especially after all this line movement. But yeah, I'm interested to hear what Rob has.
Yeah, I'm looking at the total, but I echo everything you guys have said about the Flames, by the way. It's just a really frustrating team. We would have been better off all season long if we just took every Calgary game and just crossed it off the board and pretend like it didn't exist. That's the team. I like the over 6 here. There's still, probably about a third of the market is at 6 right now. Pinnacle in Ontario, all the Canby books, Bet Rivers, DraftKings is at over 6 minus 125. I think those are all good prices. And honestly, It's purely what I think about the goaltenders in the game. Obviously, you have two goaltending options for Vegas tonight. One is Jonathan Quick. He's 5-1 since coming over via trade. The one loss, you'll remember, was to Calgary. He gave up 6 goals in that game. I don't think highly of him regardless. I think he's washed. And frankly, his numbers since coming over, I mean, he's got the 5 wins, but the actual goals saved above average and above expected are not anything to write home about. Or you get Logan Thompson, who was activated off IR on Tuesday, and he'd be making his first start since February 9th. And personally, I've always loved fading goalies in their first game back off of IR or extended breaks. There's some math behind that, but typically speaking, they perform below expectations when they come back off of a longer injury layoff. So you have that. And then the goaltending for Calgary, I mean, that's been the Achilles heel all year. Markstrom found his game, and now he's lost his way again. Back-to-back games, he's given up 6 goals. They might turn to Dan Vladar, he has a worse goal saved above expected than Markstrom does in half the games played this year. And Markstrom's been horrible. Like, they don't have an option in net. So I think this is too low for the goaltending matchup here. Calgary's offense is turning it around lately. Their power play has been very good as of late. I think this is mispriced, honestly. So it's my favorite total play of the night. I like the over 6 in this game. And by the way, just so anyone, we always encourage you to line shop, find the best book available. I would still play these 6.5s at plus 100. Those are fine prices as well. I just have a preference to the 6. That pinnacle number is the best price out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I agree with pretty much everything Rob said. Just to add, like I said, this Vegas team has been terrible on defense, and Calgary, actually has been getting up quite a few high shot chances. So 8th in expected goals for the last 10 games. So yeah, I agree. I think this should be a 6.5.
All right, so lock that in as a final play of the night. And for those who are wondering what we gave out on the show here today, we will recap this all right now. So stay tuned for as we roll through all the picks, and you can track all the picks from the course of the season on the BetStamp app. You can find that on iOS, Android. You can also go on web to find this as well. You can find us in the Find Bettors section as Edgework HQ. See all the picks from through the course of the season, everything that we've locked in. But for tonight, we are looking at, and buckle up because we got a bunch of plays tonight, the Philadelphia Flyers moneyline full unit plus 138 tonight against the Minnesota Wild. Then we're going to go to the Tampa Bay Ottawa game. We're taking the over 6.5 minus 119 full unit there as well. Actually, I believe all the plays tonight are full unit also. Otherwise, I will specify if this is not a full unit. But over 6.5 minus 119 on the total in the Tampa-Ottawa game. Nick Suzuki, under 1.5 shots on goal, plus 120 in the Montreal-Boston game. That is under 1.5 shots on goal, plus 120 in Montreal-Boston for Nick Suzuki. Then we have the Carolina Hurricanes puck line, minus 1.5, plus 175 tonight against the New York Rangers. That is minus 1.5 puck line, plus 175 for Carolina against the Rangers. Go to the Florida Panthers game. We have 2 bets here between Florida and Toronto. We're looking at the Florida Panthers money line minus 125, as well as Carter Verhaeghe over 3.5 shots on goal plus 111. So Panthers money line minus 125, Carter Verhaeghe over 3.5 shots on goal plus 111. And then final play, we have the over 6 minus 118 between Calgary and the Vegas Golden Knights. That is over 6 minus 118 in the Calgary-Vegas game here tonight. And
I love that Edmonton Stanley Cup winner future more and more every day.
Yeah.
I know they barely beat Arizona last night, but it just feels different now that they have goaltending in Stuart Skinner. I think they're like 12 or 13 to 1 to win the cup right now. And honestly, I think they're my favorite team in the West. They just have such an unbelievable player. Like it's unfair. Like you know, he's going to get at least a minimum of a point every game, if not a couple. And I think that's a great price.
Yeah,
his point total yesterday against Arizona was set at 2.5, and like now this is becoming a regular thing where you're seeing with him. It's like 2.5, 2.5, 2.5, sitting there going, okay, I get it, but oh my god, like this is getting absurd. He's going to turn into that guy, Rob. I know you've talked about it where back when they used to do hockey pools and they used to have Wayne Gretzky, you weren't allowed to take him.
My father used to tell me that when he was growing up and doing hockey pools, they would just remove Wayne Gretzky from the pool, right? At the beginning, they're like, no one gets Gretzky and that's it. But I agree. It's getting to that point where like, it's awesome. Like even if you do snake style draft, it doesn't matter. His value is so high at that first one that, I mean, if you have McDavid in your fantasy hockey pool, and you're losing this year, it's probably time to hang it up for fantasy hockey. That's my advice to you.
Well, to anyone who watched the show here today, if you haven't hit subscribe on the Edgework HQ YouTube channel, please make sure to do so. If you want to, if you miss any of the show or you know that you can't tune in live some days, you can obviously come here, watch it back after the fact, or you can go and find us on all podcasting platforms as Edgework on there, so you can listen to every day's show after the fact, after they happen. But we do encourage people to go over to YouTube, and if you're here, you haven't hit subscribe, and then as well, like this stream, like this video if you're watching it back. So thank you to everyone who hit that like button after the fact. It is much appreciated. Helps us get out there, helps us create more content as we do this and do more shows. So thank you to everyone who tuned in here today. Again, you can find all the picks tracked after the fact on BetStamp. They will be locked until the games start, but if you want to see what we had and what prices we had them at, you can see them on the BetStamp app in iOS and Android, as well as web, in the Find Better section as Edgework HQ. And if you're looking to sign up for new sports books, last thing I'll plug here, you can find it pinned to the top of the chat right now. There is a link that you can use to support the Edgework HQ show. Click that link. You can sign up for all the sports books in there. If you want to add some to your portfolio that you don't have yet, you can also find the link to that in the description of this video or on podcasting platforms if you're listening back after. So, Rob, thank you for joining on the Thursday show. First time ever on Thursday. Plenty of games for you, so that probably felt good to be able to go through. Russ, as always, thank you for coming on here. Appreciate the insights. Appreciate the analysis. Look forward to seeing you guys back here next week. And for everyone else, I will see you guys back here tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Eastern time with So Money. Good luck on your bets tonight, and I will see you guys tomorrow morning.